There.
That's Morossi, and we saw him have a problem on the grid as well, but hopefully Morossi is going to be okay. You can see that there are the marshals there. There's medical staff positioned around the circuit as well, so he'll get treated, and hopefully he'll be back on his feet in just a couple of months.
Class between the two, but there's loads of little options you can take, and you know they're all on the road to MotoGP. It's a great system, and it's a great way to connect grassroots with world level.
I was actually talking to a few full-fledged Grand Prix riders about this, and one of them, Sam Lowes, was talking about just how big of a benefit it is for the young riders, comparing him to hit back whenever he was coming through the British 125 series or Stock 600, and you'd get, you know, a handful of days riding all the way through the year. These riders get, you know, CEV championships, Red Bull rookies, the Talent Cups, whatever you want to look at. Lots of riding all the way through the year. They're trained up to be star riders, whether it's in terms of their fitness training. Champion for Ivan Goy, former Grand Prix race winner, and that Aspar team. Oh, there's another rider with a problem down there. It looks like it's Asman. Disappointment there for Asman. He's going to have to start from pit lane. You can see there for the 63. Is he going to be able to get it bumped?
Is he going to?
His team's going to try it, and oh, he's been told get straight to pit lane there.
Oh dear.
And that's disappointment there for Asman. Going to be very
a junior world championship event, and got a major race really. It's been a long time.
Yeah, and certainly for the Japanese riders coming through, lots of talent now coming through as a direct result of the Asia Talent Cup. Matsuyama, one of those riders. Lots of race winners from that championship have now been given opportunities. Great to see that coming through from Asia. This is going to be a 12-lap race in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. Danny Holgado on pole position, and as the lights go out, Holgado makes a better start this time, but still not as good as Diogo Moreira. Moreira on the 92 able to make a very fast start. That's Clement Rouge just fanning out to the left-hand side on the 45. But for these riders in the run down in towards turn 1, Moreira's going to try and hold on that lead. Ivan Ortola on the 24 tries to get down the inside. He's up into 3rd position now from 5th on the grid. A few riders running themselves out wide, but certainly right now we've got Moreira, Holgado, Ortola, and you can see now it looks like maybe it's one of the other Aspar bikes trying to make some progress. That's Asman leaving the pits.
Yeah, Asman leaves the pits, and Matsuyama, we said he needed to make a good start again. He's made a diabolical start. He's down in about 10th place, being pushed around by David Salvador down there. So that's Mattia Volpi. He's at the back of the pack at the moment with Asman behind, but out front Moreira and Holgado and Ortola. Kelso's held position. He's in 4th.
In the initial start, we saw Moreira was able to take an early lead, stretch out a couple of bike lines. He's trying to do the same now, and this time it's from Danny Holgado once again. Holgado with a much better start. Ivan Ortola with a much better start as well. Of course, for Ortola, stepping up from the European Talent Cup, he had pole position at the opening race of the year in Estoril. Looks like he's got a fast bike underneath him once again here in Valencia, trying to make sure he makes up for that disappointment of what happened at the end of the opening race of the day, whenever he got boxed out a little bit, came away with points, but would have thought he had a chance of a podium. He's now got that opportunity once again. The back of this group, it's the other Munoz that's gone down, and he's taken down the 64 David. It was Daniel that lost it initially, and David Munoz, both races, he's managed to get just as far as that corner, and he gets tagged up by Daniel's instant there. So lucky that it was only the 2 Munoz that went down, but disappointment there for both of them.
Me, look at that. Anything you can do, brother, I can do a bit better. I hope he's okay. At the front, Diogo Moreira and Daniel Holgado, they're clean of trouble. That has really split the pack, though. You can see, look at this, the front 5 or 6, I think 6 are away and running as Holgado hits the front where he has been so comfortable. That's where he led almost every lap in race 1.
Yeah, for the Munoz, they've now going to have to try and wait until the next round in Catalonia to come back, but you can see here for the 66, Joel Kelso immediately trying to come back through on Jose Julian Garcia. Those were 2 riders that were involved in the crash in race 1. They're trying to make sure now that they're able to score some decent points out in front.
Oh, chance of it now!
And you can see there once again, it looks like it's Alonso and Kelso out of this one. Kelso coming away with no points from the opening 3 races, despite qualifying on the 2nd row of the grid in both Estoril and here in Valencia. David Salvador, though, making a lot of progress in the early laps here of this 12-lap race. Kiko, it looks like in the early stages, everyone just being a bit too aggressive to try and make their progress in the short race.
That was a ridiculous move from Alonso. I don't exactly know what on earth he was trying to look at the state of that front fairing. Joel Kelso, for a 3rd race now, he's going to be without points. A disastrous start for the Aussie. Just cannot catch a break. He's limping, but he's up and okay-ish. He's clearly got a bit of discomfort, but Joel Kelso, this is what's happened, Steve. Down into turn 4. Alonso is never going to pull that off. He's so fast in the closing speed there and just punts Joel Kelso off and running. I mean, luckily, Alonso's up on his feet. That bike was so lucky not to get tangled up with one of the riders. But a disaster for both of them. And down has gone Sho Nishimura, another disaster. He's had a terrible start to this year. He looks like that's on the exit of turn 8, I think.
Yeah, and certainly for Nishimura, we've seen plenty of crashes for him all the way through the practice and qualifying sessions in Estoril, and now, unfortunately, in this race as well. I think for David Alonso, it looked like one of those cases where he was committed to making the move and then just leaves it a little bit too late. Keep an eye out here for the 57 to see what happens to him, and just gets spat out over the top. And unfortunate there for Sho Nishimura. It's been a tough day for his team as well. We obviously saw Billy Van Erde having a crash in the opening race, and Gerard Reed side for him, and David Munoz with nowhere to go, and the two Munoz boys, and it's very unfortunate.
It's just about Kelso. He just needs to score some points and build from that. This front group have definitely broken clear, but Takuma Matsuyama was in this situation not just earlier on, but also in Estoril, and he did bridge the gap. It's a little bit bigger this time, but in general, it's not impossible or insurmountable, although only 8 laps to do it.
That's the thing, it's a very different race whenever it's only a 2/3 race distance. Yeah. Well, that's it, but at the front of the field you can see now Moreira makes his move to take the lead on the run down in towards turn 1, use that slipstream. We're just coming up to round about half distance in this race, so this is where the riders now start to feel each other out. They know that the gap back to Matsuyama is round about 2.5 seconds. Matsuyama last time around though did take half a second out of them. That's why it's important for Moreira to hit the front and see if he's able to set a faster pace to keep that leading 4 away from Matsuyama, because we know Matsuyama isn't afraid of getting his head down, closing the gap to that group in front of him.
He's definitely got great race pace on his own. It's just, again, like in the first race, there was just too much going on around him, and he did get shuffled back, and that was just so hard for him then to overcome by the time the race really got into its stride. But very impressed with Diogo Moreira, Steve. This is something we have not seen from him.
He's on the Honda, different bike to Halgado behind him. Halgado able to use the slipstream and uses KTM to take the race lead. But at least this time we do have 2 Hondas in the lead group, 2 KTMs, or a gas and a KTM. They're the same bike. And it is a little bit of variety at the front once again in Moto3. We're into the second half of the race now.
And a TM in 6th place as well, Steve. All the 4 major manufacturers are right there, although Salvador is just a little bit off the pace. But yeah, Moreira, it's almost like he's started to believe, I can do it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is almost like something in his head from a good qualifying and a good first race is like, this is where I belong in this class.
Yeah, and behind that, Matsuyama's got that belief as well. You can see he's broken away from David Salvador. He's opened up a gap of about 1.5 seconds to Salvador, but most importantly, he pulled back another couple of tenths of a second on the riders in front of him. He's round about 1.8 seconds back now, so he is closing that gap down. If he can get within a second, that's
race leaders, and it's now 1.8 seconds, Steve. 5 laps to go, and these 4 you would presume are going to start swapping and changing, and that's going to bring Takuma Matsuyama in closer. Yeah,
that's whenever Matsuyama gets his real chance. His pace has been very consistent since he's been able to get in front of David Salvador and just break away from him. He's closing down that gap. These guys now starting to fight with one another. 4.5 laps to go. Danny Halgado on the 96 lead.
Move at turn 1.
Yeah, turn 1, round about 95, 100 miles an hour for these Moto3 machines, and certainly for Ivan Ortoli, you can see that the gap is starting to stretch out at the front of this group. You've got to make sure that you're in the right position. It's a 4-rider group for the race victory, and then a big gap back of about 4 seconds to David Salvador in 5th position. So we know, Kiko, the race win's going to come out from this group, but right now, Diogo Moreira looks like the rider that he's got a little bit of confidence now from that podium. As it is right now, it's hard to pick who's going to be the rider that comes out on top in this. What's interesting, though, is Jose Julian Garcia has kept a very clean nose all the way through this. Hasn't looked to be making the moves like some of the other riders, Kiko. Does he have something? Does he have an answer to those riders around him?
I'm not sure if he has an answer, but he definitely feels like he's not rushing. He's quite confident. He's methodical in his riding, and I think that's going to pay dividends later on in the race in a couple of laps' time. This is the battle for the rest of the top 6. Marcos Ruda, don't forget he had a great result here in the ETC last year. I think he was a race winner actually in Valencia, and then there's Mario Aggi in 7th place. Super Mario, is he going to be able to put a move over that for a top 6 finish? Aggi, good start to the season, Steve. In Estoril he was top 5, I think.
Yeah, not quite able to build on it here in Valencia. We've got 2.5 laps to go now for these riders, and certainly as it is right now out in front of Danny Halgado from Ivan Ortolo under attack once again.
too much time. Diogo Moreira is going to go to the front. There's nothing wrong with the Honda power in the slipstream there. And through comes the Team MTA KTM into second. So Holgado back to third. Through on the inside comes Ruda. That's for fifth place on Salvador. Good move there from Ruda. Four abreast. Garcia is punting Holgado back. This is back to fourth place now. So he's got even more work to do. Moreira is out front. There's a little gap, but not so much, Steve. Great stuff here in the last two laps.
In race one, we saw Danny Holgado have an instant in the final couple of laps. Had to come back through the leading group. He's going to have to do it once again now with a lap and a half to go. Holgado at the back of this group with that yellow helmet. He's going to have to try second spot. In race one, he went from third to first on the last lap. He's gone from third to first into turn one. Moreira tries to get down the inside. How there wasn't contact there between himself and Ortola. All four riders living to fight another day, living to fight another lap. You can see here with Jose Julian Garcia moves himself up on the number 20 machine into third position. Moreira on the 92 at the back of this group now, Kiko. He was leading a couple of corners ago, and you can see from Danny Holgado, he now needs to think, Kiko, where does he have to turn in, because he can see Danny Holgado once again stretching out a little bit of a lead. We've got four riders in the battle now into the next right-hander. This is where it becomes really important to see who's able to make the moves. Holgado out in front, possibly with enough of a margin in hand now over Garcia. You can see Diego Moreira once again able to make that move into the right-hander. Gets himself up into third position. It's Holgado still leading from Garcia. Ivan Ortola trying to answer into the right-hander.
Yeah, this is the battle we wanted to see. Oh, massive crash, Moreira!
With a huge crash that's gone out from the podium fights. And for Moreira, he's now going to have to just dust himself off. Disappointment for the Brazilian rider. Holgado's got enough of a gap now over Garcia. And then it's Ivan Ortola in third position. Unfortunate for Diogo Moreira, but once again, we're able to see Danny Holgado come away with the spoils. And another race victory for Danny Holgado. 3 from 3 in the Moto3 Junior World Championship. Jose Julian Garcia able to come away with his first podium of the season. Ivan Ortola up on the podium once again. But for Diogo Moreira, it's a missed opportunity for him further down the field. David Salvador missed out in that last lap. Super Mario able to pick up a top 5 finish there. Mario Aggi and Marcus Ruda able to come away with that fourth position. That is a very, very dramatic last lap, Kiko. And it looks like Diogo Moreira holding his wrist there.
Yeah, the right wrist. It went, the back end stepped out on the way into the corner, and that would have flicked him. It probably did hurt his right wrist there, his throttle hand. Well, I was just about to say it's the battle we wanted to see between Holgado and Garcia.